Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And I apologize if the lighting's a little weird. We're having to deal with some shadows and a really bright amount of afternoon sun today. So we're making do with what we've got for camera angles. Either way, we've got a new shell and a new choke to try out. And I think both of these were just released to the market. And I haven't really seen or heard a whole lot of people talking about them or testing them or anything like that yet. So I figured we'll bring the two out here, put them together and see what they can give us, because it's definitely a pretty interesting combination. But as for the shells I've got out here today, I picked up some of these, the new Herter's Strutter loads. These ones are the 12 gauge, 3 inch, 1 7/8 ounce payload of lead 5s, moving about 10 feet per second. And these are pretty interesting because Herter's ammo is made by Winchester, and specs wise, these have the exact same specifications as a Winchester Super X shell. And price point on these, I believe, is $12 a box, but they're on sale right now for $10. So they're about $1 to $1.10 or so around. So for a turkey shell, they're definitely on the budget side. So I'm curious if these are just going to be a Super X shell in a little bit different of a box, or if they're actually going to be some pretty solid performers, because Herter's turkey shells have been really impressive across the board. So we'll see what the new Herter's Strutter lead 5s can do in the 3-inch version today. And for the setup we're going to be running those through, I brought out my Remington 870 special purpose. It has a 24-inch Carlson's barrel on it. But for a choke, we've got the new Carlson Spur 660 Construction turkey choke. This is the first time I've seen one of these. It's just when I recently went to a Cabela's and got those Herter shells, I noticed these on the shelf. I wasn't even aware that Carlson's made a turkey spur choke yet, and to my knowledge, they're new. But with them being a 660 Construction and a Carlson's choke, it should be a pretty decent performer. So we'll see what the Carlson's turkey spur can do with these new Herter shells. So as for our test today, everything is set up the same as usual. I've got the turkey target at 40 yards, and I've got the chronograph so we can get our velocity. So let's get you guys a view of that turkey target and see how these new Herter's Strutter lead 5s can do through the also new Carlson's turkey spur 660. For a $10 box of shells going through a $45 choke, can it be a pretty impressive combination? I don't know yet, but let's take our shot and see what it gives us. Alright, so that shell gave us 1263 through the chrono. The boss claim is 1210, so out of our 24-inch barrel, we saw a little bit above that claim. And those are definitely a pretty hot loaded shell. So we absolutely have enough velocity up here, but what kind of a pattern did they give us down there at 40? Let's go check it out and see what we got. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. I did rotate our target a little bit, so that way we wouldn't have such a sun glare on it, and we can actually see what was going on. And I would say we're pretty mediocre here overall. Now, we do have to keep in mind, this is a $10 box of shells, so I don't think we should expect to get Winchester Longbeard XR type of performance out of them, especially considering I believe these are probably just a rebranded Winchester Super X loading. And although we did favor just a touch off to the right here, we do still have a dead turkey. There are a couple through the brain there that would have absolutely gotten the job done. And if we centered that up just a little bit more, yeah, there would be absolutely nowhere that he could move his head to and get away from you. Now for the core area, well, we really don't have much of one. It's just a much more broad and even spread of pellets as compared to a super hot core. Now the middle area of this pattern is pretty even. There's not really any voids in there that are super large or noticeable. You've got a couple little tiny ones sporadically through there, but nothing detrimental to the pattern. Around the edges, we do open it up just a little bit, a few flyers and stuff. Mainly down here at the bottom, we see a little bit of straggly stuff. So it's definitely not perfect around the edges. And I would say overall, it's pretty middle of the road. Would that be a turkey killing pattern at 40 yards? Sure. Is it anything super impressive or that I would go out and try and find this combination to switch to? Probably not. And so far, it does kind of appear like this is a relatively similar pattern to what we see out of those Super X shells as well. Plenty good enough to take on a turkey hunt. That's gonna get the job done. And for the price point, that's about what I expect, to be honest with you. Now, this is the very first test we've done with these shells and the very first test we've done with that Carlson's Turkey Spur 660. So we need to set a baseline here, and I think this is a pretty good example of a relatively solid baseline. And we can work either way from here with these shells and this choke. So once again, if this is what I had, I wouldn't hesitate to take that out on a 40-yard turkey hunt. Do I think we can tune these edges in a little bit and maybe get a little bit tighter of a pattern? Potentially, because sometimes these cheaper shells prefer a little more constriction than you might typically think. Either way, at the end of the day, I think this is pretty much what I expected to see here. It's a decent pattern, but it's definitely nothing groundbreaking either. It would get the job done for you. If you didn't want to get a more expensive shell, you would still have a 40-yard capable turkey combination here. And here's the wad from that shell. Definitely nothing too fancy to see here. This does look like the same kind of gray-white color Winchester Longbeard XR style wad they use, which does not surprise me at all. Same stuff they typically use in a lot of their Super X and Double X shells and stuff like that. So definitely makes sense. We peeled one petal open farther than the rest, but there's nothing stuck down in there. And that Carlson's turkey spur does have some small porting on it, so it doesn't really surprise me that we see a couple of these little pinholes and stuff. But overall, the wad doesn't look too surprising considering the combination we ran today, and we'll see how these continue to do through some other chokes, ported and non-ported and stuff, but this is about typical and nothing too unusual, all things considered. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance right there? I'd say it's, once again, pretty middle of the road. It's absolutely good enough to get you a turkey with it at 40 to 45 yards. That's going to absolutely get the job done. If you had that pattern centered up, it's going to roll that turkey. Now, is it anything super impressive or that I would immediately go out and try and get my hands on the switch to or anything like that? So far, no, but it's a $10 box of shells, so that's not entirely surprising either, especially considering that there's a real good chance that these are just a reboxed Winchester Super X shell. But they also did not do terrible. So if you were on a budget and had this combination and found some of these shells, they're not terrible. They would absolutely do the job if you needed them to. So I guess leave all your thoughts in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you gotten the chance to test any of these new Herter Strutter lead shells yet? Or that Carlson's Turkey Spur 660? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? And would you hunt with that combination just the way it is? Or do you prefer a little bit tighter of a pattern overall? And what other combos and setups do you want to see us try with those Herter Strutter shells or that Carlson's Turkey Spur choke? Let me know all that down below. At the end of the day, it's a decent pattern, nothing special, but it would do the job. And really, for a $10 box of shells, I think that's probably about what we all expected right there. So with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.